The Expert Series is brought to you by Draw It Paint, the dry erase paint company that specializes in the highest quality of whiteboard walls available worldwide. Draw It Paint is constantly undergoing tests and procedures to ensure industry-leading, top-quality products with 3 selections to choose from. Recruit, Unique, and Limitless are guaranteed to suit all your dry erase paint needs.
Hey everyone, my name is Leo Young. I am a realtor with Olo Banker. I have been in Boston in this area for around 8 years, and originally I'm from Hong Kong.
How are you enjoying Boston compared to Hong Kong?
I like it a lot, to be honest. There's a lot of different things. The people here, the infrastructure. I enjoy Boston a lot more than Hong Kong in general. But of course, there are things that I enjoy in Hong Kong more than I enjoy here. It's a give and take.
Yeah, I'm assuming the food in Hong Kong is just top notch, eh?
Yeah. There's no comparison.
Yeah, that's what a lot of my friends say, because a couple of them have been to Hong Kong, and they're like, it's the best place in Asia, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where are you from, Noel?
Well, I was born and raised here in Edmonton, but my parents are from the Philippines, so that's a little bit of a background on me. They moved here about 30 years ago, started the family, and yeah, we have lived here pretty much my whole life, so it's great.
That's great.
Yeah. Have you been to Canada yourself?
Have I been to what?
Canada yourself?
Yes, I was in Toronto last year. Good times. I went to Montreal a couple times. People are very friendly out in Canada. Try and enjoy.
Yeah, we try our best, I guess.
Yeah.
Why the move to Boston? Why did you pick that over anywhere else after leaving Hong Kong?
That's a great question. So initially when I came over here, I came on a family visa. So my uncle, he went to MIT and he settled down in this area. That's why I came here.
That's great. Do you think that's kind of long term now? I guess that you've been here for 8 years, or been there for 8 years. You think it's kind of a permanent place?
I wouldn't say anything is permanent in life, because change is the only constant. One big thing or one or two big things can happen in life that just totally turn your world upside down, for example. So if all things go smoothly, sure, I'd be open to staying here. If not, if there's a great opportunity elsewhere where something happens forcing me to move, then so be it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one of the questions that I think you've seen kind of talks about how sport culture and pop culture have influenced so much of Boston, from movies to the Patriots, the Boston Bruins, the Red Sox, all that. How has that kind of influenced your own I guess worldview and your own background?
Sure. So something very unique about Bostonians, they're very smart, they're passionate and good-hearted people. In terms of sports, as you mentioned, everyone on board is rooting for the New England Patriots, Tom Brady, people like that, and just the general personality of people here sort of inspired me to be my best.
Definitely. I think it's a city that really rallies around one another, and it's very tight-knit in that sense, right?
For sure.
Now, does that make the real estate side, the work side, easier for you?
Absolutely, because in terms of just looking at the big picture, real estate is about helping people. And to help people, you have to know them. And Boston, to me, is like a big, small community, because it's very easy to get to know a lot of people, but also it's small enough that you don't get lost. It's not like a bigger city like New York City. There's just so many people there.
Absolutely. You kind of get lost almost when there's that many people around you, don't you think?
Exactly. Well, the one thing about the roads in Boston, though, they were built for horses, so it's pretty easy to get lost because there's just random name for roads. Instead of New York, it's like, oh, you're going on Fifth Road or like Seventh Ave. You know, here it's like, oh, you want to go on like to Massachusetts Avenue or something like that.
Definitely. Now, I went to New York last summer actually, just for a little trip with my friends, and we thought traffic here was bad in Edmonton. It's a whole nother world over there. Does Boston even compare to that, or?
Boston, it's not as bad as New York. So I've driven in New York as well one time, and I don't plan on doing it ever again if I can help it. Boston is a lot more manageable. Yeah.
That's a plus for anyone, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Now, before we delve too much into real estate here, I just wanted to, congratulate you on the Boston Half Marathon that you ran recently.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
What kind of inspired you to do that? Have you, been running like for a while now, or?
Not really. So what inspired me to do that was, as I've grown up, I'm sort of revisiting a lot of things that I didn't like, in particular when I was a kid. So, for example, running was one of them. I never enjoyed it growing up. I enjoyed other sports. I enjoyed martial arts, badminton, things like that. Never running. Running is just, what are you running towards, right? There's no point. It's not like you score points. So I never understood it. But recently, over the summer, I read a book by David Goggins. Have you heard of this guy? So he's this really tough Navy SEAL person that he just went through a lot of hardships, and he wrote a book on his life and sort of overcoming all these mental barriers and sort of doing things to do them, to show to his mind that he can do it. So running has never crossed my mind as something feasible. I think the longest I ran was 4 miles. But after reading the book, I was inspired to challenge myself physically, mentally, and running seemed like a fun, not fun, like a challenge, and the half marathon seemed challenging enough that I would need to bring my A game, but also not completely impossible. Seeing that I only was on a 12-week program, it would be exponentially tougher to train for 12 weeks and then run a full marathon. So I decided to start with a half.
That's a great goal to have. I mean, you're not overexerting yourself with the full Boston Marathon, which I'm pretty sure is very competitive to get into in the first place, isn't it?
I believe so, yes. There's qualification processes. You have to run at a certain time, which I do understand because it's not for everybody. They don't want people getting seriously injured that don't have the proper training, for example.
Absolutely. Do you think that's something you would want to work towards?
Absolutely. That's the next step. I'm going to go back to lifting weights for a little while, but I'm sure I'll come back to the marathon in the future.
Yeah. Now, after reading this book, and kind of wanting to face other challenges in life, can you maybe take us through some others besides running the half marathon?
That's a great question. So there were some other things like skydiving, for example. It's not something that will change you as a person. Well, it probably will change you as a person, but it's not something that you just go out and do, right? You have to sort of go out of your way to sign up for skydiving and sort of face that fear. I've heard from my friends who did skydiving in the past, and some of them were really afraid, and pretty much most of them said that afterwards you feel amazing. So that's definitely something that I want to try to do.
It's funny that you say skydiving because one of our previous interviewees, he's a real estate investor from Augusta in Georgia.
Sure.
And he actually shared a story about how he went skydiving, and it kind of served as a metaphor in life for him in a sense, that he wanted to overcome his fears. And now he does it every year, so he's almost become addicted to it. Yeah.
Exactly. there's a lot of things that when we grow up, we sort of interpret a certain way, but then again, the lens that we see growing up could completely be false. I mean, running is a good example. I have no reason to hate running.
One of the ongoing themes I think we've had through these interviews is these people wanting to really challenge themselves. These professionals that are either these doctors, real estate professionals such as yourself, teachers, that they have something that really pushes the boundary, and I think it really shapes who they are today. So it's great that you found something like that yourself.
Right, absolutely.
Now, to kind of delve into the second part of our interview process here is real estate specific. So can you tell us how you got into real estate in the first place?
Sure. So I was fortunate enough to have an early exposure to real estate because my family invests in properties. But what really got me into real estate in terms of becoming a realtor and helping people buy and sell homes is just the fact that I can impact someone's life in such a significant way. A significantly good way, of course. Because for most people, this is the biggest transaction in their life. And they need a professional to walk them through the process and make sure that they're doing the right things and expecting what to expect. And so that I appreciate and enjoy very much.
Definitely. Now, in your Instagram bio, you talk about how you're a commercial real estate or a commercial realtor and a residential one.
Sure.
Now, I know that the residential can be very rewarding, right? You see these happy smiles at the end of it. Can you take us through the commercial side a little bit?
Sure. So explain the commercial side.
Yeah.
So, as we all know, residential real estate is for homeowners, and you're buying a place to live in, and that's pretty straightforward. But on the commercial side, this is more of businesses. So, for example, if you have a bubble tea business, you want a location to sell bubble tea. So, all the same major factors come into play, like location and price and such like that. But commercial takes a much more analytical view on real estate than residential does, because residential it's somewhere you live, you gotta love it. It's gotta it's gotta come from your heart. Whereas commercial, it has to make sense in the books, right? If a location does not yield enough traffic, if not enough people are coming through, then it might not be the greatest location to open up a bubble tea shop.
So it has a lot to do with the numbers, I guess.
Right, exactly. Whatever makes business sense.
Yeah. Now, it might be hard to choose, but which do you prefer?
Well, to be honest, I prefer residential more because of how rewarding it is emotionally, and it's not saying that I don't like commercial. I do like both of them, of course, and I help plenty of clients with both. But residential just has a more special side to it. Because if you think about it, are you a homeowner, Noel?
No, but my parents are, I guess. So.
Yeah, so when they bought their first house, they really appreciate all the people that helped them through that process, and they'll never forget them. And that may, that makes my day.
Definitely. Now, is that the main difference between realtors and real estate agents? Is that you actually build the homes as realtors, or are they one and the same?
So not necessarily. So the difference between real estate agents and realtors. So real estate agents are licensed people to help you transact in real estate, whereas realtors, it's a subsection of real estate agents. So as a real estate agent, you could join this corporation called the Realtor Corporation, which you hold yourself to higher ethical standards, high moral and ethical standards, and you operate business in a more professional manner. So it's in a way a step up from just a real estate agent.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you talked a little bit about in the beginning about your team. Can you kind of take us through the atmosphere with you guys? Are you guys a real tight-knit group there?
Sure. So my team here, they have an interesting dynamic. So that's the thing with real estate. It's not like, for example, if you're an engineer, you can sort of expect people are mostly analytical-minded people. They're really good at calculations. They understand physics and things like that. Whereas in real estate, it can really mean anything, because think about it. How many different types of people are there in this world? There's so many different kinds of people, and not everyone clicks with everyone. So there's always one person that can be able to speak to you the most, be able to help you out the best. And that's why there's an interesting dynamic, because there's many different personalities in my team. So that makes things a lot of fun, because I get to learn a lot from them, and also sort of share ideas and see things from a different perspective, which is very interesting.
Definitely. Now, you talk about different personalities. Everyone's different, right? Let's be honest. But when dealing with clients, previous real estate professionals that we've spoken to have said that they even treat them like friends. They talk to them nonstop till they get that final goal, right? How is your relationship like with your clients?
Sure. And sort of to piggyback off of what the other people were saying, I speak to all of my clients as they will. So some people I may transact on a business relationship purely, and other people I may become friends with them, very close with them, and speak to them all the way through the process. Just go out to dinner and have a good time, but even afterwards. So, for example, I sold a house to one of my clients over the summer, and we're really good friends. We found out through the process how much we've had in common, and to this day, I still hang out with him. We still grab drinks and just have fun.
That's awesome. That's another rewarding aspect to it, I guess, right?
Right.
Now, have you received any sort of mentorship throughout your career? I know you've been in real estate for quite a while now, and you have a lot of exposure to it. Can you speak on that a little bit?
So mentorship, I like the concept of that, but in terms of practicality, it's difficult. In terms of the traditional way of mentorship, it's like, hey, I'll take you under my wing and do X, do Y, right? But most of the modern way of mentorship is just having someone more experienced be able to walk you through certain things at certain points in time, and not to follow you 24/7, for example. So mentors, I've had a lot of good mentors. Especially while I was starting out, they gave me very good advice that helped me start my career. And now that I'm more experienced, I was also helping many other people starting out. It's the circle of life. You just keep on giving, because that's how you help the whole grow and help everyone get better.
Yeah. Now, when did it click for you that you were able to give advice to others? Because obviously everyone starts out just as the little guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're new to whatever it is they're trying. When did you gain enough experience to really say, hey, I can help others?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because there's no set rule, right? If you think about it, as a person, if I know something about rentals, for example, and I've been in business for 10 years, I can help somebody very, very well with rentals, but I haven't done that many home sales. So how do I help people on that? So there's no real, you must be this tall to ride, or you must be this experienced to be a mentor, right? So it's all about what you've experienced and helping other people.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Now, I think something that a lot of people assume is that the real estate world is very competitive. Is that true?
Of course. Because there's such a, there's a lot of real estate agents in this industry, and because the barrier of entry is really low, it's not like you need to go to a 4-year college and study through midterms, finals, and get all the grades and have your graduate visas and things like that. This is a lot easier in comparison to a traditional 4-year higher educational degree. So it does have a wide range of people.
Definitely. Now, when we we're first looking throughout your profile on Instagram, we noticed that you had a lot of business side type posts on there, as well as stuff about your own life and your own interests. And that's what really drew us to you, is that you had a good mix, right? Now, a lot of people, they'll either post just the personal stuff I see, or just the business stuff. What kind of influenced you to have like a nice and, I guess, integrated and combined profile?
Sure. So that's a great question. So for me, I am who I am. I'm Leo Young. I'm not a real estate person only. I'd like to be honest with people and show them who I am. So I'm more than happy to share useful tips on what to look for when you're looking for your house, but also share with you exciting things that I have going on in my life. For example, running the half marathon.
Definitely. Now, I noticed you do a little video editing work. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It looks like a lot of fun. I was going to ask about one of the...
It takes a long time, though.
Yeah, you had one specifically. I think it was some sort of meet and greet event, but the house was just beautiful, and you had these nice views of it. Is that another way you kind of self-promote your work?
For sure. So that video that you were referring to was my broker event for one of my listings, 41 Plimpton Road. It's this beautiful estate out in the suburbs of Boston that I'm selling. And I actually hired a videographer to come in to help me out with that, because I was the host of the event, so I have to be meeting and greeting people and also speaking to the different brokers coming through. So that's why I had a professional help me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, besides the videography, besides the social media, how has technology really impacted your career?
Aside from all of that, I think that's the majority of it. Social media has really changed a lot of things for a lot of people. Social media and the internet, I say, are the two biggest enablers. So in terms of this industry, it's definitely helped the process be a lot easier for all parties. Whereas before, probably in your parents' days, they probably found their house by looking through a newspaper and flipping through these books. Whereas now we have the internet. We have places like Redfin, like Zillow. You would just go on, you would see the houses. We have individual websites, like I have my own website to see it. And it's helped a lot more. So it's helped people make more informed decisions.
Now, do you kind of put a lot of information through these mediums, like your website, or do you kind of leave a contact for them to reach out to you? So
in terms of that, what do you mean?
Say I'm looking for a home, right? Do you have a lot of this information about your listings on your website itself, or do you kind of allow them to reach out to you on their own time?
Got it. So I would show them the full details, but of course, so I built this website for my listing. You can check it out. It's 41plimptonroad.com. So you'll see what really matters. So pictures, videos, and an overview of the place, and then you can dig down into details. And then, of course, my contact information is on there in case you'd like to ask any questions or you'd like to see the property.
Do you find that that's the best way of actually attracting these clients?
So there is no wrong or right way, there's no best way, because especially with internet, with social media, people are still figuring things out. There's no science to it. It's people. It's not like, if I mix if I mix calcium with fluoride, I get this chemical. It's like, okay, what draws people's attention? Knowing that everyone is a different person and are drawn by different things. So it's really hard to figure out what's best.
Absolutely.
Just gotta try it, experiment, and see what works.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what we've been doing, right? Is we'll reach out to these people, such as yourselves, and it's really up to them to be on board. Now we're lucky to have people such as yourself, but others, it's much harder for them to understand the message, I guess, because they're still unsure of what social media is and what it can do, I think.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Now, just to bring it back to some of the goals you've set, obviously one of them has been the Boston Half Marathon, and even going forward, the full Boston Marathon. What kind of goals have you set, at the beginning of your career and even throughout it?
Sure. So in terms of real estate, one big goal I have is to become the best broker in Boston. And a micro goal that I have is to sell 41 Clinton Road, the house I was mentioning before. So in terms of these goals, it's always good to have macro goals and then micro goals to sort of, step by step to get you there.
Does this change often, would you say? This list of micro goals?
Micro goals, yes. So, for example, the half marathon, I set that 12 weeks ago and I crushed it. And then now it's on to the next thing. I want to run the full Boston Marathon. And then it's on to the next. I want to sell this house. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then eventually, I'll get to be the best broker in Boston. Yeah,
it sounds like a good plan, of course.
Indeed.
Now, besides that 12 week, was it pretty crucial training that you went through?
It was hard, but it wasn't excruciating. I know that I could have trained harder, and I know I could have pushed myself more to get a better time. But this is a good way to begin my journey, and I didn't want to push myself too much to essentially maybe hurt myself, and that would take a long time, and that would set me back.
Definitely. Well, it sounds like you're quite busy from the training to working with your clients. What other activities do you like to do outside of work right now?
Well, first off, real estate really it takes up your whole life because you're doing a lot from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I can have 15-hour days, and after that, I could sleep and then do it all over again. And then, there are some days that I just don't have free time at all, but I don't mind because I love real estate so much. I just love helping people. But, on the days that I don't have it, I enjoy lifting weights, exercising, like martial arts. As I mentioned earlier, I enjoy socializing, meeting new people, hanging out with old connections, and reading and learning new things, because you always have to improve yourself.
Definitely. Even another interview that we had done yesterday, it was with a dentist. Now, he said he's been reading like his whole life. He's been in the dental industry for about 30 years, and he's always just either listening to books, reading new books, because he says he has this insecurity that he's going to kind of fall behind. So he's just trying to learn as much as he can. Would you say you're one of those, kind of addicted to learning and always improving?
So yes and no. So addicted to learning and always improving, yes. But insecure that I'm falling behind, no. So I always know to continuously improve myself, but I also realize that it's very dangerous when you have too much stick and not enough carrot, so to speak. So I've learned through the years to have a more coach mentality to my internal monologue, because everyone has an internal monologue. They talk to themselves a certain way, and it's very easy for that to be overly negative. But if you think about it, do you ever speak like that to anybody? Probably not. How do you speak to your very, very close friend that's having a tough time? hey Billy, it's all good. You're gonna pick yourself up. You're gonna do this. You'll be fine, right? And they are fine. It's not like, oh, I'm not berating them. I'm not saying, hey, you gotta do this. So I've learned to have a little bit more care in my internal monologue.
That's a great metaphor for life, I think.
Indeed.
Now, have you kind of been like that, your whole life? Just always driving yourself, I guess?
Not at all. As I said in the beginning of our conversation, Noel, one or two things can change your life in a major way. So I remember I wasn't always very hungry in terms of learning. Growing up, I would like to play video games and watch TV and just hang out. And, 13-year-old me looking at me now is completely different, and he'd be like, who is this guy? I want to be him.
It's great to, have these moments where you can kind of look back at how far you've come, I think, right?
Right, absolutely.
Now, something that I've learned is...
And just to add on that too, Noel, now that you say that, so the sort of mentality that people have, why people have such negative talk, is because they compare themselves with other people. And it's very important to not do that because you're comparing apples to oranges. When you compare, you have to compare apples to apples. And what that means is you have to compare you today with you yesterday, with you last year, from 5 years ago, and see, hey, how far have I gone? What have I done? What have I achieved? Am I happy with what I've done? And if so, great. If not, what am I going to do to get what I want to be?
Definitely. I'm glad that you say that it's only fair to compare yourself to your previous self, right? Do you kind of think social media has made that difficult? Because it seems like people are only posting the good. What's your take on that?
That's very interesting that you bring that up. So it's very common in modern society that people see the surface level. They see the good on Instagram and they're like, why is my life not like that? But you really have to understand that Instagram is a place for your highlights. You're never going to put a picture of you in your bathrobe coming out of the shower. Your hair's not done. You're not going to do that. So you have to realize that these are highlights, and you can compare highlights with highlights. But also back to the comparison thing, when you look at other people and their Instagram pages, for example, it's good to draw inspiration, but never compare yourself to them because it's not the same metric.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, it's not always smooth sailing, right? People go through these trials and tribulations throughout their lives or throughout their careers. Can you kind of talk to us a little bit about these moments of adversity you've had?
Sure. So, of course, nobody's life is perfect, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And I've been through some tough times as well. And one overarching thing, one key takeaway for my life in general is never give up. And you'll always be okay. Because no matter what happens, you are still you. You are still here. So learn to be grateful for what you have. You have a healthy body. You live in a good country in the world. You have a good infrastructure. You have food to eat. You always have things to be grateful for. And when you're grateful for things, that sort of puts an end to any negative talk, and you can sort of build up from there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just because a lot of these people, they do end up giving up, right? And they tend to do something else, and their life kind of, I guess, spirals out of control in a way.
Indeed. Yeah. So on that too. So it's very important to know that your life is a spiral. So individual actions and events will either move your spiral up or spiral down. So it's important that you know this. For example, for me, I write down a list of what brings my spiral up and what brings my spiral down, so that I'm a lot more aware of it and I can know to say, hey, this is good, keep doing it, or no, let's stop that, let's change this, let's do something in the spiral up column. And to share that with you, for example, a spiral up would be reading, would be meeting new people, would be helping someone out in a significant way. And a spiral down may be eating fast food, or sleeping in and not doing anything, not writing your goals down.
I'm really glad that you keep track of all this stuff, because a lot of people, they wonder why, certain things happen to them, or why their life isn't going the way they thought it would go.
Right.
When did you start to keep tabs on, what was helping you and what wasn't?
I can't really remember. It was more of a gradual thing. Maybe it started by me writing some of the things that I thought in my mind, and it expanded to more and more. So today, I write a lot of things down. For example, when I wake up, I write down all my goals. I write down what I want to achieve for the day, and I set my intentions. And during the day, I keep a log of what I need to do during the day, and also what I've done during the day. So I can effectively know what's going on. I have a gauge. I know, okay, today I've done 3 great things, so I should feel good and I can go home whenever I want to.
Yeah. It sounds like you've given us a lot of advice on not just real estate, but, bettering yourself and creating a healthy mindset.
For sure.
Now, to kind of just hone in on and focus on real estate, what advice would you give to someone just starting out their career?
Don't give up. Seriously. Don't give up, keep trying, and have a good attitude. As long as you have a good attitude, it will come by.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, what major takeaways do you think you've kind of experienced and have really kept tabs on throughout your careers so far?
In terms of real estate?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say always remember that this is not just a transaction. This is someone's livelihood. So always do what's right with your clients. That's what I do. And always remember that we're just people. Sometimes we get lost in the numbers, especially on the commercial side. You do a lot of calculations. What's the yield on this property, or what sort of traffic and things like that. But if you don't connect to the person, if you show them the best analysis, you won't get the deal done, because you forget to connect to the person. Because business is done through people, not through numbers.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you think people get lost easily, especially with, large transactions?
Of course. People get lost easily through everything in life. Through going back to Instagram, people look at these pictures and they're like, oh, I wish that was my life. But that's not true. You have to learn to have these priorities right and learn to have the right relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Now that kind of concludes our real estate portion, and we'll move on to some fun stuff, some stuff about Boston,
okay.
and your opinion on certain trends that we've seen. Now, what would you say is your favorite part about Boston, and are there any hidden gems that you'd like to share?
So one of my favorite parts about Boston is the Freedom Trail. Have you heard about it? So the Freedom Trail is this big 2 to 3 mile trail around the whole of Boston, red brick trail that will lead you to each of the most significant landmarks in Boston. So you can walk through places like Faneuil Hall, Boston Commons, Bunker Hill, all the great stuff, and you can learn a lot about Boston's culture, of Boston's history from that. And the best part is that it's completely free. I've never seen anything like that in different cities. I've been to 35 different countries. I haven't seen anything like that. Just a free guided tour of the most important monuments in the city. So I love that.
You say free, so anyone can just walk on this trail and they won't get charged for anything?
Nope. It's just, so you'll see the pavement like a sidewalk, and then you'll see a red brick, like literally a line of red brick that just stretches all around Boston.
That is crazy.
It's public roads, so completely free. Yeah. If someone tries to charge you for it, run away from them.
Now, do a lot of Bostonians, I guess, use it, or is it very touristy?
It's touristy, but it's important. All Bostonians have done it because at one point you're going to need to learn what's special about Boston, and then the next time, let's say your friend is visiting from Canada, you bring them there and then you let them see the sights, and it's really nice.
Now, one of my friends, he's a big Boston sports fan. He loves the Red Sox, the Bruins, and of course the Patriots. Would you say Boston is one of the best sports cities in the world?
Yes, 100%. Well, I might be a little biased too, but I'm very fortunate to have such a consistently well-playing team. Because if you look at the Patriots, they've got how many Super Bowl rings, right? And if you look at the Red Sox and the Bruins and the Celtics, they all play very, very well. And they have a very passionate fan base, and that sort of says something about the city too.
Right. Now I was going to ask you, because I am actually a Yankee fan.
Okay.
Have you been to a Boston versus New York little rivalry game at...
I don't think I have. But to be honest though, I watch sports for the fun of it. I'm not one of those people that is like, you're different, therefore I hate you. No, it's a very, back to what I said earlier, this is a very basic trap that people fall under. But once you realize that, once you have your priorities right, you understand, hey, like, this is just another person. He's lived in this part of the world, and everyone around him likes this team. So if he likes that team, I like this team. I'm just watching the game because it's entertainment.
Definitely. Do you think?
Keep it like that.
Do you think some of the fans are a bit too passionate about it then?
No, people can do whatever they want to. I'm not one to impose my will on others. So they can do whatever they want to. I choose to be one to watch it for the sports and the entertainment.
Definitely. And it's good to always remember that, it's just a game, right?
Exactly.
Now, we've talked about some of the good things about Boston. What's something, you've come to dislike?
Traffic. Like all big cities, traffic is just, it's not something that's pleasant. You'll have people making interesting or questionable moves that are potentially dangerous, but it comes with the territory. You're in the city, people want to go places. People don't use their blinkers, but it is what it is. But at times like this, it's very important, once again, to realize the relationship that you have with driving. I don't know what it is for you, but for me, it's to get me from point A to point B safely. Sure, you can cut me off, that's fine. I'm just gonna make it there, 3 seconds later. That doesn't affect me. I'm still here, I'm still in one piece, right?
Yeah, now I wish I could say I have the same patience as you do, but unfortunately I don't with driving.
That's fine, that's fine.
Yeah.
You should try it though, just try just letting things blow by.
Yeah, I have tried, and there's a lot of. It's funny in Edmonton we say there's only 2 seasons, and it's winter and it's construction. So it doesn't help.
Yeah,
the roads are always just bad. So now, what's something you think you'd change a day besides obviously the construction?
One thing I would change about Boston,
if you were in charge for a day.
If I was in charge for a day, I would let everybody just have a day off work. I would stop all work throughout the city. So, because people get stuck on their routine so much, it's like this little hamster wheel. You're just waking up, you're going to work, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's just such a routine. So I want to have people stop from work, take a step back, and sort of realize and appreciate what's in front of them. There are very, very nice people around. There's good scenery, good food. Just have fun, talk to somebody, kick a ball around, just relax.
That kind of reminds me of something that I think Bostonians have a lot, is these championship parades, I guess. Now you guys are very used to winning. What's the atmosphere like when that day comes?
So sorry, you cut out a little bit. Can you repeat the question?
What's the championship parade atmosphere like when you guys actually have one of those days?
It's always fun. There are big celebrations on the streets, and likely so. For me, I'm just so used to it that I just watch it on TV and I say, yeah, go Boston, and I move on with my day.
Yeah,
certainly, it's one thing that you have to do. If you're in Boston and they win something, go to the parade. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wish we had that. We have in Edmonton. The Oilers haven't done much since our cup run a few years ago, but
Right.
It's great that you guys get it so often.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, I'm very fortunate.
Absolutely. Now, kind of coming into the last part of our interview here, we wanted to pick your brain on some overarching trends that we've seen throughout the world. Now, one of them, obviously, we saw right at the beginning. You have the new iPhone.
Right.
What made you choose iPhones over Androids?
So, I actually have used both Androids and iPhones in my career, and there are pros and cons for each of them. So, for example, the Android, they've got usually better hardware. Like, I love photography, so I enjoy how I can customize all the settings in my camera in my Android phone. But also, iPhone is more so the integration. It's perfectly integrated, and everything just works seamlessly, which I do appreciate, and that's why I picked the iPhone.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm team iPhone, so I think it's made my life a little bit easier for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's very important though. These phones are just phones; they're tools, right? So it's not like, oh, you're an Android person or you're an iPhone person. It's a tool. It's supposed to help you. It's not supposed to sort of get you in that mindset of us versus them.
Definitely.
When you get in that mindset, that's when dangerous things happen.
Absolutely, and it still happens even with something as stupid as a smartphone, right?
Yep, exactly.
Now, one of the other things we wanted to get your opinion on is you're familiar with Elon Musk?
Sure.
And you know about his, obviously Tesla, and some of his other business ventures, from making a flamethrower for nothing, wanting to delve into space. Do you think all of this is for some kind of global takeover, or do you think he's just having fun?
I would say neither, actually. So I actually worked at Tesla for a while. I was a top sales producer there. And knowing the company, Elon is there to make the world a better place. He's there to drive the ball forward for sustainable energy, for sustainable transportation, and also to make humans an interplanetary species. So these are all big ideas. They're going to take a long time to gain traction. Not sure if he's going to get that in his lifetime. But in terms of a global takeover, don't think that's possible, just because governments, they have a lot of power. I mean, take Bitcoin, for example, right? Bitcoin was just rising all the way up. You can get a Bitcoin for like a few cents for a Bitcoin, like if you got in early enough. And then at its peak, it was almost 20,000. And then governments were just saying, nope, we're not doing that. And that's all it takes, really, regulation. So I don't think it's going to take over the world just because the government would stop it.
Right. Now, I'm in the same boat. I think he just wants to advance human society and human evolution, right?
Exactly.
Now, I like that you say it might not even happen in his lifetime, but I think he's really trying to progress that as much as he can, right? So.
Right. We have nothing to gain in doubting him, and we have everything to gain for supporting him. So I'm all for supporting the advancement of humans.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm the same way, for sure. What was it like working for Tesla? I've never, come across anyone that actually worked for the company. If you want to share some of that with us.
It's very intense, put it that way.
Yeah.
So I've never worked with a group of individuals that are as driven, as capable, and as tight-knit as these guys are. It was truly like working in special forces because everyone was on the same page. And when Elon sets these goals that are seemingly impossible to get, we hunker down and we do it. We work overtime, we make it happen. And that sort of helped me a lot too, this mentality of just getting things done no matter what. Because when I say I can take care of you, I'll take care of you.
Yeah, I think that's stayed with you probably throughout your whole life, it sounds like.
Right, exactly.
Now, I'm curious, sorry. How did they recruit such like-minded people? Because it seems like everyone kind of buys into the culture.
So, it really depends. I mean, they have different recruiting processes for different teams. But the sales team is really more so a qualitative process. They have to see what you are like as a person and how resilient you are. So, yeah, it's just, you get that feeling.
Definitely. That makes sense. Not to kind of move on to our next overarching trend, something that we've seen, especially in fast food restaurants, these plant-based food products. What's your take on that?
I think it's great, first off. I think it's great that they're sort of pushing for humans to be more efficient with their resources, because raising a cow to its adult stages, killing it for its meat, and all of that, it's very, very wasteful. And there's potential with a plant-based meat, to have a lot more efficiencies. And with more efficiencies, we can support a higher population and we can lower our costs. So maybe people in developing countries can eat more nutritious food, which is very important. But right now, it's seemingly in relatively nascent stages, just starting out. So it does have some ways to go. And I'm all for it, as long as they have the same nutritional profile, they have the same taste, relatively the same cost. I'm all for it.
I think it kind of shares the same mindset as Elon Musk, in that it's really just trying to help society.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we should all aim to do, right? Mm-hmm. We're here for a limited time. We all live and we all die, but we can choose what to do with our life. And with my life, I choose to impact the world, the people around me in a positive way.
Absolutely. Now, have you heard a little bit about the buzz that the new Joker movie is creating?
I have heard about it. I haven't seen the movie. I don't know if it's out, but I did hear the leading actor. He played his role really well.
Absolutely. It's kind of been affected by the critics, whether it's through Rotten Tomatoes or the audience itself, and there's kind of this disconnect because these critics are giving it low scores and the audience is giving it really high scores.
Interesting.
And it's creating a lot of controversy because they're kind of pointing to these, I guess, this reflection it has on society today in terms of mental health, and basically they're saying that it glorifies mental health issues, which I don't know if I agree with, because at the end of the day, it's a movie and its main intention is to entertain people, right? I kind of wanted to get your take on that, on how some people take these art forms too literally. Do you think?
Well, it's hard to control how people interpret things, but it is important to understand what it is. So a movie is a movie. At most, it can invoke thought, but you can take it literally. You can just say, okay, cool, that was a fun movie. Now on to the next thing, right? For me, I view movies like entertainment. It's just a fun movie.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? That's, I think, the best way to do it is just have fun, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up our interview. I really enjoyed our talk. Thank you very much for doing this. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Maybe promote any of your listings at all through this? Because we're going to be highlighting you throughout this entire process, right?
Sure. So if you're interested in seeing more useful real estate tips, you can follow my Instagram at leoyoung.realestate, or you can go on my Facebook page, leoyoung.realestate. And if you're looking for quite possibly the most beautiful house ever, 41clintonroad.com. Take a look at it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help.
Perfect. That was awesome. You seem like you've done stuff like this before. You seem so comfortable in the moment right now.
I like doing things like this. It's fun. But interviews like this, I don't think I've ever done before. I just enjoy trying new things out.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say you're just a natural with it. It seems like you're really just being yourself throughout the whole thing, right?
It takes time. Trust me.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty much just starting out with the interview process itself, you know. So it's, I'm trying to get comfortable with it too. So.
Right. Yeah. You'll learn from people, get inspired, take things here and there that are useful, but never look at me and say, "Oh, I'm not as natural as he is. I'm not cut out for this." Never say that, because it's a step. Michael Jordan did not become Michael Jordan from day one. He started out pretty bad at his shots, but then he shot, 100,000 basketballs, and then he got good.
Yeah.
So it takes time.
Definitely.
So that's why you never give up.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate the wise words today, Leo. Yeah, I learned a lot just from speaking with you for an hour here. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.